All right, thank you all very much for being here this evening, and welcome to the Cotati City Council and the successor agency to the former Community Redevelopment Agency. It's Tuesday, September 10th. Please do not pay any attention to the clock on the wall because apparently it has a mind of its own. It's just spinning like that. Either that or we're in an alternate universe. I don't know which it is. So with that, if we could get a roll call, please.
Councilmember Moore?
Here.
Councilmember Harvey?
Here.
Mayor Delosa?
Here.
Vice Mayor Skillman?
Here.
I'll show Councilmember Landman is absent.
Thank you very much for that, yes. And I'd also like to introduce staff now that we've been introduced to everybody here. So we have our city manager here tonight, Damien Obid, our city attorney, John Bacher, our chief of police, Michael Parrish, our city engineer and director of public works, Craig Scott. I always don't know which seat you guys are going to be in. And our director of community development, Noah Hausch. And I don't see Angela, but we do have, of course, our city clerk, Lauren Burgess. Thank you all for being here as well. And if you could now join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. We're now at item 4, which is approval of minutes and notice of waiving of reading of all resolutions and ordinances introduced and or adopted under this agenda. And we do have minutes from our regular meeting of August 27.
Move to approve. And second?
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Aye.
Thank you, Councilmember Moore. And we are now at announcements. So meeting orientation for new attendees and viewers. In conformance with the Brown Act and the adopted City Council rules, the meeting agenda includes items labeled as action items where the City Council will consider the item and citizens are afforded the opportunity to provide comments relevant to the item being discussed. The meeting agenda also includes a citizens' business item, which is the designated place on the agenda where citizens have the right to say whatever they wish. The City Council may or may not choose to respond to comments as the government code allows. However, if the City Council declines to respond, it should not be perceived as giving credence to or agreeing with any statements that the City Council or its members believe are incorrect, misinformed, or purposefully biased. The City of Cotati has special open office hours on Monday evenings from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. by appointment in the Community Development Department at City Hall as part of its Cotati Open for Business program. This program provides personalized assistance and information to developers, current Cotati business owners, and those interested in starting a new business within the city. The Rohnert Park Cotati Regional Library hosts events for all ages, including art exhibits, book clubs, and children's programs. All events are free and open to the public. For more information, call the library at 584-9121 or visit sonomalibrary.org. The Cotati Historical Society Museum is open regularly the second Tuesday of each month from 5 to 7 p.m., Saturdays from 1 to 4 p.m., and by appointment. For more information, call 794-0305. Citizens interested in receiving City of Cotati community alerts via text or email are encouraged to sign up at nixle.com or by texting your zip code, which is 94931, to 888-777. Measure G supports police services, a variety of recreation programs for all ages, and the maintenance of our streets, parks, and public buildings. See details on the web at cotaticity.org. And our final announcement of the evening is the Cotati Police Department is hosting National Coffee with a Cop Day at Oliver's Market. The date is Wednesday, October 2nd. Join the Cotati police officers from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. for a cup of coffee and a casual conversation. We are now at item 6. We're very excited that school is back in session, A, because we're no longer going to school, so we don't have that pressure, and secondarily, we have our honorary mayor program. So I'd like to introduce Zuri Ruiz. If you'd like to come up to the podium, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then get ready to be peppered by questions all the way up here and right into the microphone. You bet. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, what you're doing at school, what you're doing after school, before school.
Well, I'm in 7th grade right now, and I really like math. And after school, I usually hang out with my friends or I play video games with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really enjoy school. I really try hard in it. I usually really try on every subject in school. I really enjoy all of them mostly, so yeah.
But you really favor math, it sounds like.
Yes.
Huh? That's good. And it's really good that you said you try really hard at school since the principal is sitting in the back row. So that's good. Always a good thing to say is what I like to tell people. So with that, we're going to go around and just see if there's any questions that we may have for you, and then we'll fill you in because you'll be coming back in 2 weeks for the next September meeting since you're the honorary mayor for the month. And with that, I'll start with Councilmember Moore.
Welcome, Zari. Thank you for participating. So you're into math, and you're into school, and you're into video games. Are there any of the video games tied to any of the school?
Well, some games are.
Yeah. And do you have an inkling of what fields you may be leaning toward as you progress in your education?
I like talking a lot like this, so maybe into lawyer. So yeah, yeah.
Have you ever seen any movies with Kathleen Turner?
No.
A very similar voice that she does. She's very famous. Well, best of luck in your endeavors, and I'm sure our esteemed mayor will be providing you with some future direction.
I already warned her about the
Won't
homework.
use the H word.
No, I already told her it was going to be homework, but that's okay. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Harvey.
Zuri, welcome. Besides video games, is there any other activities that you like to do after school? I know school takes up a lot of time with homework and stuff.
Well, at school we do coding. Coding's really fun to do after school and in school. So yeah, I like coding and robotics.
Oh, robotics. So are you looking to possibly go to Tech High or something like that when you get that far?
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe, yeah. Well, I know it's kind of early in 7th grade to kind of decide what you want to be, but we really appreciate you being our honorary mayor, and keep up the good studies. That's always good. And math is, you can't lose out with keeping your sights set on math. So look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks.
All right, thank you very much. And Vice Mayor Skillman.
Thank you. So thank you again for being here tonight. And I know it can be a little nerve-wracking, but you seem to be doing really well presenting in front of people, so that's great. And I will give you a hint that I'm also a lawyer, so I think that's kind of cool that you've got that kind of in the back of your head. You guys already asked all the questions I was going to ask, darn it. What kind of things did you do over the summer since we're just at the...
Well, me and my family travel a lot, so we go to different states and different places in the states, yeah.
Oh, great. What was kind of a highlight from this summer?
Well, we went to Yellowstone National Park.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, that was really fun seeing all the stuff there, yeah.
Very cool. All right. Well, thank you again for being here, and look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Awesome. Now my turn. Don't go anywhere yet. So, yeah, so you like talking, and you know, when you were asked about careers, city council. You know, politicians, apparently what I've heard is they do a lot of talking. That's what I've heard. I've heard that about attorneys too, but there's at least 2 of them here, and I don't want to upset either of them right now, so.
Some more than others.
Some more than others is another good point. And that's really cool. So yeah, Yellowstone, is that the first time you've been there?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty impressive place, huh? I know the wildlife, the scenery. Did you see things like elk and grizzly bear?
Yeah,
and
we
stuff?
saw buffaloes too.
And yeah, that's very cool. Oh, good for you. So do you have any people here you'd like to introduce tonight that you came with?
Well, yeah, my family, my mom and my dad.
And any people related to the school?
Yeah. And my principal.
Oh, very good. Yeah, see, that's twice. I'm trying to give you some good points here. That's great. So the homework assignment, which I kind of warned you about ahead of time. We always like to ask at the first meeting for the honorary mayors to go back, talk to their friends, either in the neighborhood and or at school, and ask them, what kind of services that you guys don't have here in Cotati that maybe there's a possibility we could help facilitate. We've got a great recreation department. They do a lot of different programs and also opportunities if people want to get into doing that kind of work and working with kids. So just something to think about, and then maybe when you come back to the next meeting in a couple of weeks, we'll ask you that question: did you get a chance to talk to any of your friends or schoolmates, and what ideas did they have? Because we'd really like to hear that, so that would be great.
Okay.
Okay, good. Well, we'll see you in 2 weeks, Zuri. Thank you very much. All right, we are at item 7, which is the proclamations, and we have a proclamation of the City Council of the City of Cotati proclaiming the week of September 16th through September 22nd as Pollution Prevention Week, and the week of September 21st through September 28th as Creek Week. And I believe Serena is here from Daily Acts, so maybe you'd like to just come on up while I read this proclamation, and then if you have any comments you'd like to make afterwards, that would be great. Whereas throughout the United States, the week starting on the third Monday of September is recognized as National Pollution Prevention Week, and whereas throughout much of California, including the Russian River watershed, cities, counties, and other stewardship organizations are recognizing the third week of September as Creek Week, and whereas our pollution prevention practices are intrinsically linked to the health of our watershed lands and waterways, and whereas the Russian River Watershed Association supports programs to reduce pollution, increase the environmental quality of our watershed, and provide our communities with the knowledge to be effective stewards of the Russian River watershed lands and waterways, and whereas the nearly 1,500 square miles of lands, 150 creeks, and approximately 350,000 residents of the Russian River watershed are connected and mutually support each other, and whereas the Russian River, along with its tributaries and associated features, are important resources to the people of Sonoma and Mendocino counties, and whereas pollution in the form of trash and debris, chemicals from industry and everyday living, and sediment from construction and many land uses and activities all have the potential to degrade the quality of life and the quality of resources within the Russian River watershed, and whereas the Russian River Watershed Association strives to protect our lands and waterways through ongoing pollution prevention outreach, which aims to raise awareness of the harmful effects of pollutants to our natural systems, and whereas during Pollution Prevention Week and Creek Week, creek, river, and ocean cleanup campaigns will take place throughout Sonoma and Mendocino counties. Now therefore be it proclaimed on the 10th day of September 2019 by the City Council of the City of Cotati that the week of September 16th through 22nd, 2019 is Pollution Prevention Week, and the week of September 21st through September 28th, 2019 as Creek Week, and asks all members of our community to support efforts to protect and enrich our watershed health by participating in many Pollution Prevention Week/Creek Week activities, and to take active steps to reduce pollution and care for our environment throughout the year. That is a very lovely proclamation. And Serena, I don't know if you have anything that you would like to say or add to it?
Yeah, absolutely. At Daily Acts, we truly believe in the power of our daily actions. So I think this is going to be a fantastic event. It's going to be on September 21st, which is a Saturday, from 9 a.m. to noon. If anyone's interested in participating, we're going to be meeting at Pocket Park at the Model Stewardship site. And, ideally, we don't want trash in the river to begin with, but after taking a walk down there, there's not too much trash there to begin with. So that's always a hopeful sight, and I'm really looking forward to connecting with community and getting rid of the trash that is there. So thank you for partnering with us and allowing us to do so.
Absolutely. And yeah, over the years, we've done different creek cleanup events in the Laguna de Santa Rosa, and I've always thought years ago when I was getting involved with that stuff, it's like, wouldn't it be great one year if we have a creek cleanup and there's hardly anything, if like literally nothing to pick up, I mean, that would be the penultimate idea. And we're actually not super far from it in the Laguna. It is pretty darn clean, so that's great. Any questions or comments from council members? Nobody?
If anyone was curious too, we will be recording like trash density and like recording what types of trash we find as well. So that information will be available.
That's awesome. Great. Okay, and I have this resolution I'd like to give to you.
Wow.
I read every word.
Thank you.
And one thing I forgot to mention to Zuri and your family, you're free to go at any point in time. I mean, I understand it's a school night, so there's no point in staying here till midnight, but we won't even be here that late. So you can leave at any time you'd like. Thanks very much for being here. Thank you for this. Okay. Yes, Ms. Alderman. I assume you're going to make a comment on the proclamation? Is that okay? Yeah, sure. I'll open up the public comment period on the proclamation.
I'd like to remind this council that your daily acts for 4 months in 2014 was to allow hazmat fire debris to be power washed into the city's water system. So this in front, next door to us, you all know about this. Damien Obid never was Public Works then, and then city manager, did nothing. For 17 months, we had contaminated soil until a abatement was done. That all went into the city's water system through the gutter, in the critical habitat of the tiger salamander, and you guys did nothing other than cause problems. So this is a hypocritical for you guys to do a proclamation with the acts that you have done in the past.
All right, thank you very much for those comments. Is there anyone else who'd like to comment specifically on this proclamation that was just read? All right, seeing no one, I'll go ahead and close the public comment period on that, and we will move to item 8, which is approval of final agenda. Do we have any changes, City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. No proposed changes.
All right, thank you very much. And now we are at item 9, which is citizens' business. Any member of the public wishing to speak to the council on any item listed on the consent calendar or any matter not listed on the agenda that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council may do so at this time. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the council is not allowed to consider issues or take action on any item not listed on the agenda during this period. Pursuant to City Council Policy 2017-02, comments of any member of the public are normally restricted to a total of 3 minutes in length per person for matters not on the agenda, and a total of 3 minutes per person in length for any and all items on the consent calendar. The mayor may extend the time limit for a reasonable time where a disability accommodation has been requested. So is there anyone who has any public comments? Yes, please step up. If you care to give your name, feel free.
That's fine. No, I do not. I was going to bring something up on item 5. You didn't call for public comment on that, which is announcements, because there's an inconsistency. On the announcements, you say on A that a person, the meeting also includes a citizen's business item, which is designated place on the agenda where citizens have the right to say whatever they wish. That's incorrect. It's correct on 9, where it says you have to be speaking to items that are within the purview of the city council, the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. That is the correct designation that should have been announced to the public. The other thing that I wanted to speak to, or speak about, was the city that I live in recently took action to make the city clerk's position an elected position. I understand that your city doesn't have an appointed city treasurer, but it has an appointed city clerk, which is also your city manager. I find those two to be in conflict, and that's one of the reasons we're putting ours out to make it an elected position. And with that, I have a statement from a person that was involved with that I want to read to you. And it says, it says Cotati council members, excuse me. My name is Arania Riddle and I live in Dixon. I am an involved citizen and a staunch supporter and advocate of open government. Because of my involvement in 2015, I was named by the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association Tax Fighter of the Year. The latest trend throughout California has been to take away the people's right to elect the city clerk and the city treasurer. They want it all within the House. Government Code Section 36501 states the government of a general law city is vested in a city council of at least 5 members, B, a city clerk, C, a city treasurer, D, a chief of police, and E, a fire chief. If we are getting away from electing a city clerk and a city treasurer, what will happen next? Will we go away from electing you as a council? The Dixon City Council just certified a petition to elect the city clerk. It will be on or held during the 2020 election. The question to make the city treasurer an appointed position was defeated by the voters in 2016. I am urging you to consider giving the citizens you represent the choice to elect the city clerk and the city treasurer. Thank you. And I appreciate being able to tell you that. I think it's a benefit to the citizens to have another set of eyes looking at the city books. Our city is so much attempting to keep things in control that they took away all the duties from the city clerk's position prior to the election, which is totally illegal as far as I'm concerned. It'll probably take litigation to take care of it, but it'll happen. So anyway, thank you for your time. I'm a little bit over.
All right, thank you.
Would you like me to turn the copy in?
You can leave that with the clerk, please. That'd be great. All right, and Lorianne Barber?
Thank you, Lorianne Barber, citizen of Cotati, and I just wanted to make an announcement in case people haven't heard that Friday, September 20th, there is going to be a climate strike. It is something initiated by Greta Thunberg, who has been striking on Fridays from school and has become kind of a worldwide phenomenon. Many other students are doing the same thing to try to get the attention of the adults who need to take some action. So there will be an event in Courthouse Square in Santa Rosa from 12 to 2 on Friday, September 20th, and many students will be, striking from school to attend, and they also are looking for adults to show up as allies, and I wanted to make sure people knew about that. Had a poster at home, forgot to bring it, but there's lots of info online, or you can ask me if you want more information. Thanks.
All right, thank you very much. And is there anyone else under citizens' business? Ms. Alderman?
The last few days, I've been going down to the Cotati St. Joseph Park and Ride because the homeless have moved from Roberts Lake. A few have moved over, and they're a good bunch of people. They work part-time. And one lady today who I spoke to, she got a ticket for being at the Park and Ride, where that is very selective enforcement, in which you guys have a whole history of doing year after year. There is a red flatbed truck that parks 3-4 days a week there overnight. You've done nothing for the homeless. Now you have a homeless issue. And from what I'm hearing, the police are hassling them, that there's when that is the city's lot and you don't have any regulations to prohibit overnight parking there, it is wrong to select the homeless over the business entities that are there. Those people need help. They don't need, these guys are one lady, she's got a part-time job, but she can't afford rent in this county. Another person, he just lost his job a month ago, and he's homeless because of having no income, but he went and he cleaned up the whole parking lot. George brought him over a blower, and he did the whole parking lot, but he was cleaning up before then. These are the people you're getting there, and you've ignored them for 4 years. We've been asking for it to be an agenda item. You think you would do something before it's become an issue.
All right, thank you very much for your comments. Anyone else under, yeah, Mr. Berich? I saw the hand, I just had to look up.
Good evening, Council. For the benefit of the audience and the folks at home watching tonight, my name is George Berich. I'm a former city councilman here, and I'd like to agree with everything that Lori Alderman has said tonight, and that as one of the neighborhood watch captains for Cotati, I have been monitoring the Cotati Park and Ride, or the former Caltrans Park and Ride down there as well. I got to meet some very interesting people and keeping an eye on that for cooperation with our police department and so forth. Spending some nights down there myself in my RV. And Lori is absolutely right. There is some selective enforcement going on. What's really interesting is I parked my RV down there today, only to find out to come back that my tires were marked. I've been there 12 hours, and none of the other cars in the parking lot that are parked there during the day or leave and come and go are marked, but mine are marked. I found that kind of amusing. But we're going to do our best to see that the mayor is able to put the homeless issue on the agenda in our lifetime. We're coming up on winter time. We'd like to see this agendized soon so that we can do something very compassionate for these taxpayers, these citizens, these people who are down on their luck sometimes. Some of them are working, some are temporarily homeless and so forth, and as the story goes on, you're very familiar with it, been very successful in kicking this can down the road. On another issue, you may or may not be aware that this month is Emergency Preparedness Month. I see a nod. I don't remember if it's come up before the city council or not, but I would like to see if the city is going to be reacting to emergency preparedness in the way that they've reacted to it in the last few years, which is absolutely nothing. Silence. The last thing I remember, because this issue is very close to my heart, when the last time I heard of this issue, City Manager Diane Thompson explained that we have some emergency supplies at City Hall, which entails approximately 10 cases of bottled water somewhere in the police department, in case we need it in the event of an emergency. I got to hope this city is smart enough to do something a little bit more, bring some awareness to this issue. No emergency drills, no emergency plan. We have a state and county plan in a folder, but we have to do a lot more to coordinate and work together. So when this town may or may be under a serious threat of a natural or man-made disaster, we are prepared for an emergency. We will work together. I'm trained as a certified emergency team member with the county, and I'm a relief worker for the Red Cross, a volunteer, and we can do better, and hopefully you acknowledge this month as Emergency Preparedness Month.
All right, thank you very much for your comments. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak under citizens' business? All right, seeing no one, I'll go ahead and close the comment period to the public. Just a couple of reactions to a few things I heard, that we've done nothing for the homeless in 4 years or so. If you recall, we had several discussions at the city council meeting where we had a safe parking program, and we were going to bring this program to the city. We did through Catholic Charities. We ran it for, I don't remember how many months. I think it was less than a year. Maybe it was somewhere in that time frame anyway. And I do recall people in the audience under public comment specifically calling that program a joke, which I find really ironic to hear people speaking in favor of why aren't you doing anything. So it's kind of a dichotomy there. But we did that, and it was a successful program, and unfortunately, Catholic Charities, from what I had heard, it was a funding issue with them. They withdrew their part of the program, which was a critical part, and so, and of course that area is also going to be developed. I've also heard from Homeless Action Network individuals in the county that they were down by Roberts Lake, and that there were handouts, 8.5 by 11 handouts of, if you're homeless, come to this park and ride in Cotati because it's allowed. Well, but that program has been shut down for, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm wrong. I can admit that. You're wrong too. Because that program we officially shut down probably a year and a half ago. It's been a period of time. So people who are handing out that kind of information are doing an incredible disservice to those who are homeless. And I feel really bad about that. And when it comes to emergency preparedness is something that our police department and other city staff work with neighboring jurisdictions, as in the city of Roanoke Park and the county, and these are annual refreshers that do go on. So, and I also know that there is a plan that will be coming. It's in a draft form with staff right now, but will be coming to this meeting that will very clearly call out, here are duties for certain city staff, here are duties for council members. So things are in the works and moving forward with that. So just to state some factual comments there. We're now at item 10, which is the consent calendar. We have items A, B, C, and D. During the citizens' business, that was the opportunity for public comment. There were none. So I'm looking for action from council.
Mayor DeLoso, if I may back you up just a moment.
Yep.
Clarification on the citizens' business. There was a reference by Mr. Caramello regarding announcements and citizens' business item, which is
Right.
5A under announcements.
Right.
And it says, which is a designated place on the agenda where citizens have the right to say whatever they wish. And he references item number 9, citizens' business, and it says, council may list it on the council calendar or any matters not listed on the agenda that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. So it's not contradictory there.
So we're not going to get into a discussion here. This is
No, I
not
just
the
wanted to get
forum for it.
clarification.
Thank you for that comment. We will move again to item 10.
Thank you.
Which is consent for items A, B, C, and D.
Move to approve?
Second.
Motion is second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Please show a 401 vote on that. Thank you. And we are at item 11, direction on any future agenda items. Does any council member have, council member want?
Yes, there's 2 items I'd like to see if we can bring back up, where we're at regarding any future direction on the teen center with the rec department. And secondly, I'd like to look at a styrofoam ban in the city of Cotati. Not just for the city and employees and any events that we run, but citywide.
So are you interested, just to get clarification, like businesses as well?
Correct.
Okay, just so it's clear. Great. Councilmember Harvey?
Well, I'll just add to that, there is, working through the process, a ban. It's a little bit broader than just styrofoam. So that is in the works. It ended up not being able to get on the agenda exactly with the zero waste goal, but we do have a model ordinance, and staff is working to bring that to us.
Terrific.
Okay?
So good timing on that. Vice Mayor, anything?
No, that's it.
All right. We're at item 12, which is the regular agenda, and our first item is item A, which happens to be the zero waste goal. And I'll turn this over to the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. So first of all, before I start, I just wanted to let everyone know that Leslie Lukash is the executive director of Zero Waste to Sonoma, is in the audience. So if there's any questions after the presentation, feel free to either ask myself or Leslie. Be happy to respond to anything you might have questions about. And you see in the staff report, it references the Sonoma County Waste Management Authority. So Zero Waste Sonoma is the agency formerly known as the Sonoma County Waste Management Authority, so same thing, in case there's any questions about the name of the agency. So really statewide, but certainly this is true in Sonoma County, landfills are in short supply. So we have a single operating landfill in Sonoma County, and there's roughly 29 years of capacity, give or take a couple of years, depending on how fast the waste goes into the landfill. I think it's probably estimated based on the current flow of waste to that landfill. But landfill space is an issue because once that landfill is full, those are incredibly hard to site these days. So preserving landfill space is important. The other element at play here is greenhouse gas emissions, and a significant part of the waste flow that goes into the landfill is food waste, like edible food waste. And when that decomposes, it creates methane, which is a potent greenhouse gas. And to the extent that we can divert edible waste, it also saves landfill space, but it also reduces the amount of methane generation in the landfill. And I think everyone's familiar with the green carts. Historically, many years ago, it was considered like a yard waste cart. These days, you don't see it. They're not labeled yard waste anymore. All the new cans all have compost on them. And the idea is that it's green waste from your yard, of course, but also food waste from your house or business. So that, in conjunction with some state laws that are in place now, are really going to be driving more and more food waste into compost to try to get it out of the waste stream that goes to the landfill and get it into a reusable material that can be then used for our soil amendments and so forth. So a little bit of background on how the attached resolution came to be. There's an AB 939 local task force, which is a county-created advisory group to the Board of Supervisors and to Zero Waste Sonoma. And they created this model ordinance, which is essentially what's attached to this report. And they recommended that the waste agency, as well as, or Zero Waste Sonoma, as well as the member agencies, which the city of Cotati, as well as all the other cities in the county, are members of, they recommended that we adopt this zero waste framework throughout Sonoma County. And this resolution was developed over quite a bit of time with a lot of input from all the different groups that are listed in the staff report, so quite a bit of input. The resolution also drew from examples of zero waste resolutions that have been adopted or in other jurisdictions of the Bay Area, including Zero Waste Marin, Oakland, San Jose, Alameda, Palo Alto, San Francisco, and there's probably others. One of the state laws that I referenced was, this is a new one that's going into effect now. It's SB 1383, and this is what's termed the Short-Lived Climate Pollutants Reduction Act of 2016. And it requires a 20% reduction of edible food waste by 2025 and a 40% reduction of methane levels by 2030. So it's pretty aggressive and very prescriptive, as opposed to prior regulations, which were more goal-oriented, and you can kind of get there how you felt best doing it. This is a more prescriptive approach. But that's coming into play, as well as other regulations that are really driving waste minimization, and with the ultimate goal of zero waste, hopefully at some point. And the waste agency, or Zero Waste Sonoma, adopted their zero waste resolution at September 19th, 2018 Board of Directors meeting, and then requested that staff work with member jurisdictions to have this resolution adopted throughout the county. So far, to my knowledge, Cloverdale, Windsor, Sebastopol, Healdsburg, Petaluma have all adopted this resolution or some form of it. And Roanoke Park and Sonoma, the town of Sonoma, are supposed to see it this month. And the county, I believe, is scheduled for October to hear this. So that's pretty much everyone. I don't know where Santa Rosa is on this, but that's everyone else. And then on the resolution that's included, this is on packet page 77, I just wanted to point out one of the whereas clauses. This would be the fourth clause. It says, whereas the Sonoma County Waste Management Authority on September 18th, 2019 adopted by resolution the zero, that's, that was pointed out to me, that is actually an error. So it's September 18th, 2018. So we're not looking ahead to the future. It actually happened a year ago.
But possibly with the clock tonight, we may be in the future, right? So.
You never know. Right. And with that, I will just conclude the staff report, but I'd be happy to answer any questions, as well as Leslie, I'm sure.
Great, thank you very much for that. Any questions for staff or for Leslie at this point in time from anyone up here? The dais? Nope, seeing no one, okay. Why don't we go ahead and open this up for public comment, if there is any? And Leslie, if you'd like to come up and say anything, now's the time.
Why not? Thank you, Mayor and Council, for listening to this resolution. It, as was stated by your city manager, it took about over a year to create, with input from both the business sector, nonprofit sector, public sector. So it's representative of what citizens put together, and it's a really good goal because it supports many other initiatives that are going to be coming down the line, like was mentioned, with different regulations, as well as the disposable foodware ordinance that you will be hearing in the near future. So I appreciate you guys taking this up, and if you ever have any further questions, feel free to reach out to me.
All right, great, thank you very much.
I do have a question, Mayor Clausen.
Sure.
I'm sorry, I should have asked it before. Do you know what the lifespan of the landfill, how much it was shortened due to the fires and the floods?
Yeah, it's about 2 years, so really it should be up to 27 years is about the life of the landfill if we're disposing at our current rate.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, thank you. Ms. Alderman?
I just wanted to mention there was a really good Press Democrat article this morning about the zero waste facility and how there's some neighbors that are against it because it's stinky. But it's a really good article and people should read it.
I did read that, thank you, but yes, good for bringing that up. Anyone else to comment? Yes, Lorianne.
Thank you. I just want to speak in favor of this resolution. I think it's a really important thing for the county to take up, and I hope the city will go along. I particularly, certainly concerned about the life of the landfill, but the importance of zero waste as a climate mitigation really cannot be overstated. So I think it's very important, and I appreciate you taking it up.
All right, thank you for your comments. Okay, seeing no one else, I'll go ahead and close the public comment and bring it back to council. We know we do have one edit to make on the resolution with that year, but are there any other comments or questions for staff? Either direction? Councilmember Harvey?
Yeah, I think this is a real important step for us to move forward on. I was involved, I have been on the Waste Management Agency for a while now, and I participated for years with the Solid Waste Advisory Group, and it was very interesting, even when I first started, to find out, that basically our landfill, at that point, it was due to run out when I first started at like 19 years. So we have come a ways with the things we're doing, but as we can pick away at this stuff and preserve the landfill for things that we really just can't seem to get rid of. There's lots of things, every time they do a waste characterization and look at what's in there, then we have the ability to isolate what that is and try and find solutions to remedy that. Things like the foodware, things like we've been talking about having to do with drugs and over-the-counter things like that. The food is a big one. When I first started on the Waste Advisory Group, I think they had stated that about 35% of what was going into the landfill at that point in time was food waste. So again, this, now that we've been able to move along the spectrum and include food waste in with our green waste, I think it's, little by little we will get there. Now, whether we'll really ever be 0, we'll have to just see. But I think that every step we make is an important step. So I support this.
Thank you for your comments. Councilmember Moore, any comments or questions?
No, I would just support this wholeheartedly.
Okay. Vice Mayor?
No, I was actually going to make a motion.
Yeah, okay, and I was just going to suggest one more time on that fourth whereas to make that edit as you make a motion, that'd be great.
Okay. So I would move that we adopt a goal to achieve zero waste by 2030, including the, as noted, amendment to the year September 18th, 2018 in the fourth whereas in our resolution.
Second?
Motion second, any further discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Please show 401 vote in favor of that resolution. Thank you all, and thanks for your comments, everybody, on that too. All right, we'll go to item B, which is the response to the 2019, and it's the grand, not the grant, jury. I just wanted to point that out too. That's another editorial we might want to make to them. I don't know. The grand jury report entitled, Will There Be Water After an Earthquake? Sonoma County residents face big challenges. And I'll turn that over to Mr. Scott.
Mayor, members of the council, Craig Scott, Public Works Director, City Engineer. I think the grant was wishful thinking.
And maybe it is, and that's fine.
Subconscious.
That's all good.
Seriously, so tonight's item is the city, as well as the Sonoma and Water, received a grand jury report this year that was entitled, Will There Be Water After an Earthquake? And so, as per the California Penal Code, there are specific requirements in responding to these reports. And so tonight's item is sort of to organize ourselves and get council buy-in on the staff prepared letter that will have the mayor's signature on it, that we'll be submitting within the time frame, which is 90 days after receiving the report. So housekeeping, there's a staff report in here, followed by 3 attachments. There's the grand jury report, Sonoma Water's response, which is being submitted already, and for which the city of Cotati relies quite a bit on that response because it pertains to our system, and then Cotati's response. There are 11 findings in the report and 6 set recommendations. This water contractors who receive water from Sonoma Water and Sonoma Water coordinated these responses together because it's essentially one system, and then to the extent the city of Cotati has local resiliency measures, that is addressed in our letter. There's one finding that's directed at the water contractors, and so our letter addresses that. That's finding F8, and then recommendation R5 is another one that's directed at the water contractors. So the grand jury report brings attention to public water supplier plans and resources to improve reliability of supply following a major earthquake. Additionally, the report calls for residents to be prepared with their own emergency water supplies in the aftermath of such an event. I think what I'll do now is I'll skip to the water agency's letter response, which I think encapsulates the efforts that are recognized here that the water agency and the cities have done to be prepared for such an event. And then I think what's pertinent too is to highlight what Sonoma Water has committed to implement, as well as the city. So just reading from their letter on page 99 of the packet, Sonoma Water also appreciates the grand jury's recognition of the significant resources Sonoma Water and its water contractors have invested in strengthening the water transmission system to mitigate the potential effects of a major earthquake as well as other potential natural hazards. As recognized in the report and as stated below, Sonoma Water and its contractors have invested substantially in efforts to protect Sonoma Water's water supply infrastructure against natural disaster, including a severe earthquake. Following an extensive 4-year vulnerability assessment and development of its first local hazard mitigation plan in 2008, Sonoma Water established its eligibility to receive federal hazard mitigation funding and has since successfully secured $12 million in grant funds with additional funding of nearly an equal amount that is pending approval. Of this nearly $24 million in grant funding, approximately $13 million is specifically designated to protect the water transmission system against the risks of an earthquake. So I just wanted to bring attention to, hey, this grand jury report recognizes these significant efforts that the water contractors and the water agency have achieved. So moving into the implementation on page 107, we have the response to recommendation R1. And R1 is stated, Sonoma Water review and establish viable options for accelerating how rapidly the highest priority mitigation measures are being funded and implemented by December 31st, 2019. So there was a study done in 2008, and it established a capital improvement program, and since that time, grant money is being secured, and the water agency have been steadily working away to get those completed, right? And this report is saying, hey, just look into ways of accelerating getting through that whole list, right? So the water agency has said, hey, in support of the grand jury's recommendations, Sonoma Water will present options for accelerating the highest priority seismic risk hazard mitigation projects to the WAC's Technical Advisory Committee during preparation of the fiscal 2021 budget. So every year, the water agency reviews its annual budget with the contractors, and the water agency is proposing, hey, we'll just kind of roll that into that annual process, and we'll maybe highlight that piece of the budget and look into options of accelerating the priority projects and what impact, importantly, that'll have, because there's no free lunch, right, on the water rates. So we'll see what those trade-offs are, recognizing that projects off of that list are being implemented just as a matter of course. And so this is just incremental, trying to change to accelerate that, you know. Okay, so recommendation 2 is another one where the water agency said, hey, the recommendation has not yet been implemented, but will be implemented in the future, and that is quote unquote the required language. You've got a few ways of answering these. And so this one is Sonoma Water, the recommendation, Sonoma Water maintain inventory lists with current goals for items, quantities, locations, and sourcing, and improve stockpiling accordingly by a certain date. So this is like, well, things are going to break in an earthquake, and so you have to have spare parts on board. You have to have relationships with your suppliers, and so you're a priority customer, and all of these types of things. So that happens. What the water agency is saying is it'll look for ways of improving their inventory management, and I think what was found was there different departments were a little inconsistent in it, and so they're looking for ways to make that inventory management system more consistent across the agency. Inventory system by December 31st, 2019. That includes item description and use quantities, location, sourcing, tracking, maintenance, and primary point of contact. So tightening up that process and making it consistent. Recommendation R3 on the next page there of the packet 108, Sonoma Water and water contractors derive and publicize more realistic outage periods and provide updated information to the public. So this is a public outreach, really, recommendation, recognizing that what the Office of Emergency Services and the water contractors, there's just there's a benefit to making sure that that messaging is consistent. Do we tell people to have 3 days worth of water supply and food, or 7 days, or what is that? And so the water agency is saying we support that recommendation, and we'll go ahead and work with the Sonoma County Department of Emergency Management, County Health Department, us, the cities, to develop a consistent public outreach message, improve the website, make sure that web messaging effectively gets out there. So that's it, sort of in a nutshell what that implementation is looking at. We're on to R4. So R4 is right there on the bottom of that page. Sonoma Water improved coordination with water contractors, including field exercises by that December 31st, 2019 date. And so if you go all the way to the end of that response, it says, Sonoma Water, in partnership with the water contractors, will initiate the development of an emergency training and coordination plan to describe the additional joint training exercises, field exercises, and funding sources needed to increase readiness, collaboration, and emergency response capability. And the draft plan to be completed by that date, December 31st, 2019. So they'll be involving the cities in those and outreaching to us and bringing us into their training exercises. What I'm glossing over in the interest of brevity, and call me out on this if you want more detail, but the beginning and part of the answers talk about where we are with this, how much we've prepared already, and all the standard operational procedures and practices and so forth that are already in place. So I'm just skipping down to, okay, this is what we're going to focus on improving, this incremental improvement. Just wanted to be clear about that, because I am glossing over all the accomplishments and achievements, how we're already prepared for, it's really difficult, it's impossible to be completely prepared, right, for a severe earthquake, but there are ways to mitigate it. All right, so recommendation 6, okay, is for Sonoma Water to prepare and maintain one or more SOPs, standard operational procedures, for the restoration of water delivery specifically for an earthquake. SOP shall be updated annually or whenever there are changes to procedures, so by a certain date. So again, Sonoma Water has developed over 30 emergency response plans and procedures that guide emergency response and recovery efforts. However, they're looking at, hey, are there gaps here? Are there some procedures that we could develop? So skipping down to the end there, in response to the grand jury's recommendation, Sonoma Water staff will review and identify the decisions, processes, and actions needed for restoration of water deliveries following an earthquake, and where SOPs may be missed to ensure timely restoration. So they're looking for gaps. Hey, we've got all of this covered, but are there some SOPs that we still need to develop? We don't, they're saying, hey, acknowledging we don't know if there are that are missing, but we're going to look and see. Sonoma Water will develop one or more SOPs needed to facilitate the restoration of water deliveries following an earthquake, including the coordination and use of outside resources from government agencies, mutual aid associations, or general contractors, to be completed by June 30th, 2020. Okay, so those are the ones that findings and recommendations that were directed at the water agency. Hey, as a wholesale water supplier, these are the ones we're looking for improvement, or for you to address, right? So looking at recommendation directed at the water contractors, the city of which is one, you've got F8 and R5. So F8, I believe, is stating it's very difficult for the city and for any water contractor to discriminate with its water supply. You have the situation where you're going, hey, we want to funnel our limited water supply to hospitals or critical locations, and so are we turning off all the water connections to everybody else? No, we can't. We don't have the ability to do that. But what happens is, our system is looped. We've got 3 wells located, dispersed among our system. If we lost the aqueduct supply, it's all about redundancy, right? And we have it. So if we lost the aqueduct supply, we'd have the wells. If we lost a certain well, we've got the other 2 wells through this network system that could provide supply. We would look for the residents to cooperate and not irrigate their lawns during an emergency, for example, and say, hey, let's all work together on this. And we kind of work that way to make sure that we have sufficient supply. We, for example, ask customers to reduce their water supply by 50% or something, depending on what the emergency is, to preserve that remaining water supply for health and safety, flushing toilets, drinking water, whatever. So that finding we agree to. Yes, we agree to that. On recommendation number R5, we move to page 115 in the packet, and that one is water contractors study options for making local systems more adaptable under emergency conditions such as dedicated supply loops, digitally monitoring metering, or automatic shutdown valves. And so to this end, so flipping over the page, the City of Cotati and the 8 other retail water contractors, this is a coordinated response that we prepared, are funding a regional water supply reliability study coordinated by Sonoma Water. The study was initiated in February of this year when Sonoma Water engaged the services of Jacobs Engineering Group to evaluate strategies and water supply projects to improve integrated water resource management and make the service area more resilient to potential short-term, i.e. earthquakes, and long-term, i.e. sustained drought water shortages. This study will identify opportunities to enhance coordination and partnership between the City of Cotati, Sonoma Water, and the 8 other water contractors for improved regional integrated water supply emergency planning. So that was underway well before we received the grand jury report, because this is an ongoing effort to improve reliability. In the City of Cotati's response, we highlight the multiple pathways to convey water, the 3 wells that I mentioned before, the redundancy, and then particularly we have recently, in the last 3 years ago, installed remote read water meters on everybody's connection, and then along with that project, every third meter, every third location, we installed a remote read water leak sensor, and that is facing our distribution system, and it's picking up any leaks in our distribution system and remotely sending that to a repeater, and so we can sit down at a control screen and see what leaks are being detected out in our system. And it's just particularly important because not all leaks come to the surface. There's subterranean leaks that are going into a gravel bed or something that could be a substantial amount of water that we'd have no other way to pick up. So that was something the grand jury was saying, hey, do you have one of these? And the answer is yes, we do. And so we've got this reliability study that's already underway and is looking to be complete in the spring of 2020. And then we also have we have the opportunity here, and we've taken that opportunity to highlight what we've done and how our system has a resiliency built into it. And so I'm trying to convince the mayor that yes, this is a good letter for you to sign, and along with the Sonoma Waters letter, that it's been a coordinated response. I would like, this is of course an opportunity for you the council to weigh in on this, and anything else you want to add to it or modify, or but what we're looking for at the end of this item is to ultimately get a decision to okay the mayor to sign this letter and send it off to the grand jury. That concludes my presentation.
All right. No, great. Thank you very much. And when it does come time to make a decision whether I'm going to sign this letter, I would only ask that I get my title changed from Public Works Director / City Engineer to something like Mayor. Probably more appropriate, but I'll let you guys work on that part. That's the easy part. Okay, any questions for Mr.
You
Scott?
got a new title.
I know, it's great. It's that really long title, though, Lisa. Any questions for Mr. Scott? Vice Mayor? No. Nope. All right, go ahead and open this up for public comment. And I see no public comment. So we'll go ahead and close the public comment on this. Okay, so we are looking for direction on submitting this letter. I didn't have any other comments. You did skip over finding F5, which was the first one on the city letterhead letter. And I'm just kind of curious, and I see, the response makes sense. So you're agreeing with, well, FEMA really recommends that it's basically a minimum of 3 days of water per person, is kind of what I picked up from that. So, the city's response is, the city partially disagrees with this finding because you're referencing, here is the FEMA standard, and that's what we would go with. I'm assuming that's what that meant. I just wanted to clarify that.
Sure. So finding F5 consistent with FEMA recommendations, residents need to maintain their own emergency source of water to meet their personal needs for more than 3 days, frequently stated by officials. And what we're aligning ourselves with the city of Santa Rosa, which looked out there and said, you know what, these officials have inconsistent messaging right now. So to say that they're consistently saying it's 3 days is not entirely something we can agree with because there's a variety of messages out there. So what we say in our response is it's really important to have a consistent public messaging out there. Agrees more public outreach and education regarding emergency preparedness is needed.
Right.
So we're just sort of taking a difference exception to how that finding is stated.
Yeah, it appeared to me it was kind of nuancing, but I get why you're doing it too, so that's perfectly fine. And my only other question was, and this was a discussion that was happening earlier tonight at the meeting here, but this is part of an overall emergency preparedness strategy, is it not? And it's something that's been worked on. I mean, we're referencing some of the work that's been done, say, the last 3 to 5 years in the city with the smart meters and all of that stuff. But in a broad view, this is definitely part of an emergency response strategy, is it not? Because, I mean, it's specific to some natural disaster, earthquake, flood, fire, whatever, and specific to water.
That's correct. The water system is designed, constructed, and to be reliable, just by its very definition. And so that involves looking at natural hazards as well as human error.
Right.
Our accidentally at a construction truck, backhoe cutting through the power supply. It doesn't have to be a natural hazard. So
Right.
we're always on the lookout for all these potential ways for our system to be damaged, and then how would we go ahead and mitigate those impacts. And so that's why we see multiple different water supplies, a loop system, a remote sensing system of what's going on in the water system. So,
Right.
and storage tanks. So if energy goes out, we have gravity-fed system, et cetera, et cetera. So that's, if you look at our water master plan, that you see the criteria, and a lot of that criteria is based on providing a reliable water service. So it is an overall planned direction of our system.
Right. No, that's how I interpreted that too, so thank you. Okay, well, with that, then if there's no, go ahead, please, Councilmember Harvey.
Waiting for comments. So a couple of things. One, it's important to note that in the grand jury report, it clearly states that throughout this investigation, the civil grand jury has been impressed with the expertise, education, and dedication of the staff at Sonoma Water and its contractors. And I'd certainly like to thank our staff, because I know that our staff puts a lot of work into ensuring that we have safe, reliable water. Can we do better? Well, people can always do better at whatever it is they're doing. I think it's important, to note that, as was pointed out, even before this report came out, we're already a step ahead by banding together as the group to do a water supply resilience study. We're waiting around. We wanted to make sure that, you know, we have a reliable water supply. I think the city has done a really good job, you know, with, although, you know, painful and costly to do, we implemented the SCADA so we can see. So when there's an emergency, we do have a dashboard to be able to see where things are leaking, and we can send people out, not, as you pointed out, waiting for water to bubble up somewhere. You know, we can highlight that. It's unfortunate. I understand the brevity, you not wanting to go into the accomplishments, but on a lot of these findings, there were a lot of things that we were doing and have been doing. So I would really encourage folks to read this report, because there's a lot of things that as water contractors and Sonoma Water, we are doing to do that. And I think you're right. It took me a while to read the report, so it you know, would have taken you a while to go over all those highlights. And along, you know, with all of this, a note was pointed out in there that, oh, well, maybe you could just spend all this money by the end of 2019 and just fix all these things. Well, that has impacts on water rates, and it's always a very big balance for us to balance the risks, or to you know, do what we can to make sure that the rates are rates that we can afford. I don't think it would do people very much good if we said, okay, we're going to increase your rates by 200%, but we can have these things fixed by the end of the year. There's always kind of a balance, and that's why these items are prioritized. That's why Sonoma Water does an excellent job of going after grants where the grants are available for these very specific things. So, you know, I just want to make sure that people understand that we are doing a lot of things, and we do take very seriously that trying to balance the risk and the rates that people have to pay in order to ensure that they have quality water and that we can respond in an emergency to these things. And those are my comments.
All right, thank you. Any other comments from the dais? Councilmember Moore?
Yes. In looking at the report, this was a pretty extensive report. There was a reference, I think, to either the City of Santa Rosa or the Sonoma, and having the personnel they thought needed a greater number of personnel that would have more knowledge of the system. So with that in mind, I would imagine that this whole system is part of our whole succession plan, and as the Public Works Department is maturing and retiring out, the underlings are training in that particular program?
Yes, there's the ongoing training, on-the-job training with the equipment, and learning how to fix and maintain the equipment out there. We also subscribe to a standard operating procedures program that makes it, that creates a directory of all of our standing SOPs, and it makes it it facilitates creating those SOPs. You just go around with an iPhone, take a picture, and say, this is the on button, this is how it works, you know, this is what you look for, and the lever you have to push and everything else. So it's very prescriptive. And so we've had that for a couple of years, and we're building a library of SOPs on all of our equipment and facilities. So there's always ways, as Ms. Harvey has stated, to improve. And so we're always looking for those opportunities.
Thank you. That was it.
All right. Thank you. With that, I'd be looking for a specific recommendation and motion.
I'd like to make a motion and agree to submit the attached letter in response to the 2019 grand jury report to the presiding Superior Court judge.
I would second that with an amendment correcting the title.
Even more
I think the
important.
resolution's okay, though.
Thank you very much. Okay, any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And our final agenda item under the regular agenda is item C, which is a proposed federal legislation for national park and lands infrastructure. And I'll turn that over to the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. So attached is a template letter that the Pew Charitable Trusts have developed in order to maintain awareness of the backlog of infrastructure in national parks as well as public lands throughout the country. And the letter is intended to be sent to Speaker Pelosi and Senate Leader McConnell, and that the letter essentially endorses some pending federal legislation. HR 1225 is the House version of it, which is attached just for reference so you can see what it is. But the other companion version in the Senate is Senate Bill 500, and it would open up existing unallocated funds in a gas and oil royalty account to address deferred maintenance at national parks, which would constitute 80% of the funding. Wildlife refuge areas, which would constitute 10% of the funding, public access and recreation at 5%, Indian reservation school maintenance and construction at 5%. And Feinstein and Senator Harris are co-sponsors on the bill, as well as 44 of the 53 Democratic House members, including Congressmember Thompson, who we all know is a representative of our district. So with that, I will just conclude. It's kind of it in a nutshell, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, and I do want to point out that it does say it's existing unallocated funds. So there are funds that are sitting there that currently are not targeted for anything at all, or anything specific anyway. So with that, any questions for staff? No? All right, I'll go ahead and open this up for public comment. Anybody would like to comment on this? Was that a hand or a scratch? Scratch, okay, got it. Seeing no one, I'll go ahead and close the public comment. I also contacted this morning Senator Harris's office, Sydney, who met with up here a few weeks back, but via email, and I didn't get a reply as of the start of this meeting. I was just kind of trying to see, are there any hidden tricks, with this kind of legislation? Coming from the Pew Charitable Trusts, I figured there probably wasn't, but it was worth asking, but I never got the opportunity to ask. So what we have is what we have. This is really, it's a letter to Speaker Pelosi and Senator McConnell just saying, we are in favor of, these two pieces of legislation, and it'd be great if they moved forward. That's basically what we're saying here, so.
It's long overdue?
Indeed, yes. So we're not making any motion on this. This is just kind of a direction thing. If there's no edits to the letter, we'll just go out as is from our city engineer and whatever that title slash mayor. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe technically it's just simply adding your name to that letter.
Right. That's where it'll be something electronic only, I'm sure. Okay, thank you for that, and we will move now to item 13, which is the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. So some road construction updates. The dig-outs are complete on Old Railroad Highway from East Cotati to 116, and on East Cotati from Old Railroad Highway all the way down to the railroad tracks. And it's scheduled to be slurry sealed in early October, so it'll be slurry sealed and all restriped and all that stuff, so it'll look clean again. Contractor is scheduled to put the final paving lift on Old Railroad Highway between William George and East Cotati tonight, so you may have seen out there that it already been ground down and you had the base lift on there this morning when you kind of rolled through there, because I did that last night. So they're going to add the top lift tonight. They were cutting in loops and so forth for signal detection on the traffic signals during the day today. And work was supposed to start around 6 with traffic control set up just to not be in the roadway during commute hours, or at least the bulk of the commute hours. And it's looking like it'll be restriped in early October as well. And then Benson Lane, if you've been down there recently, that was also repaired, ground down, and had a base lift on it. And the second lift is scheduled to go on Thursday. this Thursday. So there'll be limited access except for residents during that paving. And then the sort of the major construction piece on Lincoln, Loretto, and Linden is scheduled to start on September 12th, and it will go through about the 25th. And this is the asphalt recycling process like was done in the rest of the L section last year. So you'll start seeing the road get pulverized and then removing excess grinding, cement treatment, and grading of it. So it's going to look like a dirt road pretty soon for a couple weeks until they get it back into a fully paved condition. And residents will have access to driveways, but of course are encouraged to park on nearby streets and not the streets that are getting demolished when that's going on. It's advisable not to be there when they're doing that. And then you may have also noticed that curb ramps throughout these areas are getting upgraded so that they're all compliant with current ADA requirements. And some sidewalk repairs have happened as well. A little further down East Cotati, in front of Sunflower Park, you may have noticed over the last couple weeks there's been a lot of work along the park edge of East Cotati, where they're taking out the curb and gutter and replacing a lot of that. They're replacing the valley gutter at the entrance to Sunflower. They did half of it. They did the other half today. It's a driveway entrance into the Sunflower Park and development area. And they're also digging out the median right now, that rocked median, and they're going to finish demoing it here soon. So a lot of road work happening everywhere. And then also just to let you know that as is typical in pretty much everywhere, I guess, there's usually the first point of contact for people that are without shelter, are employees that work in the street, often, like the police officers. So our police department has been continuing to collaborate with COTS and Helping Hands to connect these people with resources. And both groups work with our officers and dispatchers to provide them with the most current resources, including access to coordinated entry, which is the front door for all the services that are offered in this county for those populations. And on the recreation side of things, this Friday night is our last summer movie in the park. It's in La Plaza Park. We'll be showing Lego Movie 2, 15 minutes after sunset, and it's free for all. We do have popcorn and other refreshments for purchase there at the park, but feel free to pack your own picnic if you would like, or your own dinner. And then Saturday, September 21st, we're partnering with Daily Acts, as was mentioned earlier tonight during the proclamation. But we're also partnering with the Water Agency and Recology and other community groups to host the creek cleanup. And it coincides with a statewide coastal cleanup day and the Water Agency's Creek Week cleanup. The volunteer effort will take place, as you heard earlier, from 9 a.m. to noon, and it's going to start at Pocket Park and work its way down the creek path. So please show up and help out if you're available that day. And then lastly, we're currently in the process of planning our city Halloween. I got criticized last time for not pronouncing that properly. It's City Halloween. Sorry. I even led that off by mispronouncing it. So you had to hear the double entendre there, so I wanted to make sure I enunciated that clearly. So we're partnering with Rancho Cotati High School recreation students, and they have a focused concentration there for hospitality and recreation, so we're working with them. And look forward to adding new elements to the event, like a haunted hallway and more activities. So this event is also free on Halloween Day from 1:30 to 5:30 p.m. And it's really, we see a lot of younger kids early on, and then we see the kids from Thomas Page when they get out. And it's really great for the younger ones that really you don't want them out too late at night, and it's still daytime, and they can get candy, go trick-or-treating here. So for information on this or any city programs or events, you can contact Ashley Wilson at 665-4222 or awilson@cotati.org. And of course, you always can go to our website and Facebook page for any and all of this information. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for City Manager on that report? I have one. So I was walking down Benson this morning and saw the slurry seal looks great, but there's like, I don't know what to call it. There's the sidewalk, there's like a concrete apron. It's probably 8 inches or so out. And then there's the asphalt. But there's a vertical gap between the asphalt. Is something going to be filled in there?
So
It's not much. I mean, it's probably at most a half inch,
So,
something like that.
yeah, so the good news is it's not going to be like the Roner Park Cotati Library parking lot.
Great,
It's not going to end like that.
good. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, who had like a lift for, I don't know, 10 years or something before they finally paved the rest of it.
Right.
So what that is they grind it down, and that's the edge of the gutter you're talking about.
Right.
The lip of the gutter.
Right.
They grind it down, and then they do a leveling course. So the first course is just a course to level the road, set the grade.
Right.
And then they come in with a top
Okay.
grade, another layer of asphalt, basically.
So,
That brings it up level to the edge of the gutter.
and is the L section going to be done in a similar way?
So the L section is going to be totally dug out,
Dug out, yeah.
flipped upside down, and cement treated, and then repaved.
Okay. I'm just curious, so if somebody was to ask me, I might know what I'm talking about instead of saying, I don't know what you're talking about. Although I've seen it and I don't get it, but now I get it.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah. So what you see on Benson is a more conventional paving method, where you grind and then do a leveling course, and you do a top course.
Okay.
What's happening in the rest of L section is a total reconstruction of the roadway.
Right, right. Okay. Which will bring a whole different series of emails and phone calls.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah,
But
excellent.
it's short-lived.
Understood.
That's the good news.
Well, that's what we hope. Okay. With that, we'll move to item 14, which is city council member reports. And let's start with Councilmember Moore.
Boy, it doesn't pay to miss any meetings, does it?
Nope.
I don't have anything on the remit because I was unable to attend that meeting, but I believe Amy was part of that as the alternate. I did go over to some bridge housing in Sacramento while I was over there and looked at those units over there because I was unable to attend the ones in San Francisco. I was very impressed. On-site management, talking to some Sacramento residents, they had no idea that development was an affordable development. It was right backed up next to condominiums, and they had no idea. Very well maintained, aesthetically pleasing, on-site management, very courteous and professional. So I thought that was a very, very interesting observation, and so that was encouraging if that's something that we're looking at down the road.
Were you able to, was it more of a drive-by? Or
No,
did
it was
you
a
get to go
tour.
inside?
No, it was a tour. I went
Oh, great.
and introduced myself, and they showed me around and talked about the program and looked at some of the facilities. And
Oh, that's good. Okay.
very nice, yeah. It's right near Rayleigh Field.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was very good. I thought that was very positive. I did speak with Sydney, Dr. Harris, at Senator Harris's office, because I know she had done some outreach and was looking to see if we had anything going there. So while I was over in Sacramento, I was able to do that. And that's it.
She didn't say anything about not calling me back?
I won't say what she said about you.
Never mind.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. Your report is done. Councilmember Harvey.
I want to stay on, there we go. On 8/25, I attended the annual bocce ball event over in Yountville. I ended up being sucked into playing bocce ball actually with the crew from Santa Rosa, so they brought me in under their wing. We did not win, but it was fun. The event was really good. Then I want to remind everyone, I know it's short notice, but I believe Nancy sent out a invitation for our next North Bay Division event. It will be 9/23, and it will be during the day, starting at 11 a.m. with a tour of the Sonoma Raceway. And then at noon, a discussion will be had about the Highway 37 and what are the plans for that, or what are the options and all that. So hopefully folks will be able to go to that, but that's all I have right now.
All right, thank you very much for that. And Vice Mayor Skillman.
Thank you. Very quick report. I attended the Daily Acts event That was just this past, what was that, Sunday. So that was, it was a nice event. They had vendors and music and food. So it was over at Sonoma Mountain Village, or yes, Sonoma Mountain Village near Holly Tomatoes. So that was a really nice event, and hopefully it'll become an annual event.
All right, very good. Councilmember Moore had mentioned meeting with Bridge in Sacramento, and there was a publicly announced meeting and tour that we did, and so we went to 2 of the Santa Rosa properties. So the other 4 council members were there with a couple staff and a couple folks from Bridge. So yeah, it was very enlightening. One was a 20-year-old complex they have in Santa Rosa off Stony Point, I believe. And that one, that's why I asked, that was just a drive-by. So we kind of drove in and out, and so you got this visual of this place that, again, is 20 years old and appeared to be in decent condition, you know, from that visual perspective. Then there was a 10-year-old facility, which I would say it's on the west side of 101, but just south of like Cottingtown. So in that general area there's several multi-unit developments over there. It was 70-something units, one of which was vacant. So the manager there, who gave a great tour and was not primed, he was just like, he had no idea what we were going to ask, what anybody was going to ask. But one unit was vacant, and I did ask, well, you know, why is this vacant? And he said, well, the person who was living in here for 6 or 7 years built up enough equity to move up, if you will, and get something bigger for, you know, whatever family is being raised. So, and they were, again, they were in great condition. It was nice to talk to the manager there to see what they do on site and how they keep an eye on people, things, cars, parking, all of those that become issues with multi-unit dwellings. And it was interesting that it was the same number. I think he said, if you guys can correct me, there was like maybe 1 or 2 vacancies a year at most there?
Yeah,
something
most,
like that,
yeah.
yeah. So I thought that was also a good sign. I had mentioned at the last meeting that I was going to be meeting with the county library director, which I did 2 weeks ago. And so that was a discussion not to open up the JPA, because I always talk to my attorney friends first, and they say, don't open up a JPA, which I would never entertain. But it's sort of, what was the next step that was supposed to happen after that library JPA? And I think what's missing is that cities and the library system need to sit down individually for each facility and put out a document for each facility. The city of whoever will do these things, and I would assume, since they own the building, it'd be more the exterior envelope. So maybe it's, you know, roofing and painting exterior, and the library will do this, which I would say is the interior. It's carpeting, maybe it includes HVAC, because apparently there wasn't clear enough direction in the JPA for that, and so there's been some conflict, let's just say. So anyway, you know, that's gonna morph into a strategic plan that they're writing right now, but then these will be little, several pages that maybe become some kind of an addendum to the overall JPA. So, and finally, on the 5th of September, I attended the ribbon cutting for the Edward Jones Financial over in the shopping center where Oliver's is located. Krista Neary is the financial advisor there, and there must have been 45, 50 people there. I'm assuming most were family and friends that she had invited, but we did a ribbon cutting there, and so that was great. And that's all I had. Now we'll go to item 15, which is public comment on non-action agenda items. Mr. Barrich.
As a future item coming forward, I'd like to see the council address the mayor's baseless accusations, which are many. One being tonight that there was some flyer disseminated around that he thought was disingenuous. Did you bring that flyer tonight, sir? No. Baseless accusations
I can bring it to the next meeting.
Don't interrupt, sir, please.
No, I wouldn't
Okay,
dare.
please, please.
No,
My
no.
time. It's my time,
Sure.
please. The facts are, you want to talk about facts, the city has done nothing for the homeless over the last 3 years. Lori Alderman can attest to this. The city can take no credit for the Catholic Charities' efforts to put in a program in Cotati. That program was put in at the time when it was a Caltrans park and ride lot before it was donated to the city, which this lot became a public parking lot. Okay, so the mayor at one point made one suggestion to the city council that he asked the other city council members, I'd kind of like to put maybe something on the agenda about the homeless. Got no response, what, about a year and a half ago or so, 2 years ago. But I guess the mayor doesn't have the power within himself to put anything on the agenda that he thinks is appropriate. So let's talk facts. That lot was a park and ride lot some time ago. Now it's a public parking lot. The police have been discriminating against night workers who use that lot to carpool, to rest, people coming off the freeway, to eat, change a baby's diaper, you name it. The options are endless. The police are out there hassling those people. They're not doing any hassling during the day, just at night. That's a fact. And if you go to Facebook, as some of you know already, you can find the Cotati Homeless Parking Project, which has people inviting people to come to Cotati to park on our public streets and on our public lots if they need a spot. You've had a right to comment there. You have done nothing. I have every right to invite members of the public to this meeting, to a parking lot, to a farmer's market, to anything I want. You cannot deny me the right to invite people to this town, sir. I paid for that parking lot. I paid for these chambers. How dare you? Now, if the mayor isn't going to do a damn thing about the homeless, then let's have the citizens try to do something, because you can't. You're unable to. You don't know anything about leadership. Okay, you want tourism? You want some sales tax revenue? Let's talk about inviting some people to this town. Come spend some money. You haven't lifted a finger. You haven't spent a dime of city money for the homeless. Lori and I have argued that you please, when temperatures drop below 40 degrees here in Cotati and it's raining cats and dogs, to possibly open up one of the meeting rooms next door at the middle school, and we will volunteer and we will get you volunteers. We will work with Catholic Charities to man that room to keep people from freezing to death. And this council has done nothing.
Your time is over, Mr.
Okay?
Barrich. Thank you very much.
You can't afford even a porta potty out there,
Mr.
sir.
Barrich.
That's your legacy of BS.
Thank you very much, please.
And anybody who dies out there is going to be on your hands.
Thank you for sitting down. Anyone else like to comment? Ms. Alderman?
The first thing I'd like to comment on is the city manager's report. I did not hear one word, all these projects and everything, not one word about the planning commission meeting on Monday about the memory care facility. You got no public input, and it was continued, and especially Mr. Noah was supposed to advertise it. There's no advertisements of it, of a memory care next to a highway with 17,000 cars next to it is a bad idea. I went to my vet on Friday, who is next to Red's recovery room, know nothing about it. Next door to where this assisted, that's how much you've kept this all secret. And there's all this stuff that's happened all summer, and it's been hidden away in agendas and the website, and it needs to, that kind of stuff needs to stop. We also, how many months has it been since we've had an update on the hotel? We don't even know if they're coming in. You guys don't say a word. The other thing is direction on future agenda items. You need to, Mr. Moore still has not apologized or he's gone off on doing the derogatory comment on his city email account. You all have refused ethics charges for over a year now. You need to put ethics charges on Mr. Moore. You also need to put ethics charges on Mark Lamon for breaking the social media policy, which I didn't know existed until lately, but he's broken at least 6 of those items on that social media policy directly, and you guys have done nothing. You haven't enforced it. And the other thing is, last council meeting, he had a conflict of interest with Sonoma Clean Power, and he tried to suggest that they use the Evergreen program of Sonoma Clean Power when he's the chair of Sonoma Clean Power. That was a total conflict of interest, and it was an implied condition of that contract, of that project going through. So you guys need to follow the damn laws, because I'm getting so tired of coming up here and dealing with this. I need ethics charges. I need change. This has been going on for years, and you do nothing. You just continue on. Let's do more. I can't even get ethics charges after a year and he can take his little email and wave at me and try to chill my free speech rights. This needs to change.
Thank you very much for your comments. Mr. Caramello.
Yes, I have a number of things. The title Standard Operating Procedures, SOPs, was mentioned, and that's what I find throughout these meetings. Nothing changes. A good example of it is zero waste goals. This is all bureaucratic nonsense. Zero waste goals, you're just going to do total recycling, everything's going to be recycled. We've already got recycling. So I don't understand where you think you're going to achieve anything by doing another statement saying we're going to go for a zero waste goal. The grand jury report. Why didn't you just come out and say, guess what, folks, if we have an earthquake, we can't provide water. You're going to have 3 or 4 days supply. And yes, we recognize that. This is all bureaucratic nonsense that is you're just reinforcing it by continuing down the same path. If you really wanted to address the water thing, you would have gone out and said, okay, this is how we're going to do it when this happens. And he did a little bit of that, and that's good. The other points that I had was on the city manager's report. The ADA law went into effect in 1991. Now, I know Mr. Obid hasn't been here that long, but the fact of the matter is those improvements were supposed to have been done shortly after that law was put into effect. And most cities have already achieved these things. And getting on to the road repair, do you guys have a hot tar machine to prevent road from deteriorating to the point where you have to grind it down, remove it down to bare dirt? Because you're spending millions of dollars on that, and it costs you $65,000 for a hot tar machine. I know because the city of Dixon bought one at my insistence after 2 years of beating them over the head with it. Then, I'd like to say to you, Mr. Mayor, you did not give a brief comment when you were responding to Mr. Barish. I have no problem with it. Obviously, that item needs to be on the agenda for you to discuss it with Mr. Barish to come to a conclusion on the homeless problem. Because this is not the first time I've heard it. I heard it a year and a half ago when I happened to be at one of these meetings. And the final comment I have is on Mr. Moore, because I couldn't quite understand what he was saying about my comment about the agendas. You don't get to come up here, or I don't get to come up here and talk about my fishing trip to Alaska, my vacation in Hawaii, because it's not under the purview of this city council to do anything with that. This is supposed to be a business meeting where you handle business items that come before you that have some effect on the public, not about personal stuff. So no, you don't get to comment on just anything on your mind. Unless you want the public to do that, then you need to change number 9 to say you can comment on whatever you want. I'm simply saying there's a discrepancy between the two. And I don't know whether you understood that, but from what you said, it didn't sound like you did, and I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. All right. Any other comments from the public? Seeing no one, I'm going to go ahead and close the public comment. And we will ask now if there's any information received after the agenda was posted. There are none. And then we will officially adjourn at 8:44. Thank you very much.